Chapter 55. Lunam, Madrid train bombings. I feel that there's nothing more truly artistic than to love people. Vincent van Gogh. Comotin arrived at the reception desk at Luman's office in Coconut Grove. He didn't see anyone there, so he walked straight into the office. Lunam was reading some papers that he just printed out and didn't realize Comotin had arrived. "You seem to be very interested in what you're reading," Comotin said as an introduction. "Hello, Comotin. I'm reading about the sentences related to the Madrid train bombings in March 11th, 2004, Lunam said. "What about that?" Comotin asked. "Today is October 31st, 2007. It's about 3.5 years since the attack took place," Lunam stated. "Well, that's pretty fast. We're still looking for bin Laden," Comotin noted as he continued. "Today, justice has been rendered, according to the Spanish Prime Minister." "And you don't think so?" Comotin asked. "It's a long story, Comotin," Lunam replied. "Well, I have all the time in the world," Comotin commented. It was exactly on March 10th, 2005. I was ready to go to the Don Quixote restaurant to watch a Real Madrid Champions League soccer game when I received a call from a friend in Spain. "And what happened next?" Comotin asked anxiously. "My friend told me that the prosecutor in charge of the trial case of the bombings just made some declaration to a Spanish radio station, and some of the things he said were already in my book," Lunam said. "What did he say?" Comotin asked. "She said that there was a Kabbalistic factor and we should not ignore symbolism within these terrorist attacks. She said that the date, March 11th, 2004, was not chosen at random, and that this date was very symbolic for al-Qaeda. She went on and stated that 911 days have exactly passed since the 9/11 attacks in New York," Lunam added. "Did she read your book already?" Comotin asked. "No, and I thought that probably it would be a good idea to mail my book to her," Lunam said. "And did you?" Comotin asked. "The next day I searched for the address of the Spanish National Justice Audience address. I wrote her a note including my email address and mailed her my book, some articles that I wrote about that date, and a DVD with one of my plays talking about the subject," Lunam stated. "Did she answer you?" Comotin asked. "To my surprise, about 10 days later I received an email from her thanking me for the book and all the other things that I mailed to her. She told me that she and her people in her department had been carefully reading all the information that I sent to them. Following the initial thank you, she asked me different questions." "Did you answer her?" Comotin asked. "Of course I did," Lunam answered. "And what happened next?" Comotin wanted to know. "I answered all the questions that she asked me. I think that the prosecutors were taking very seriously all the numbers and coincidences involved in the Madrid terrorist attacks. We emailed each other back and forth for nearly 2 years, and I explained many facets surrounding this terrorist attack. The fact that March 11th, 2004 is a number 11, 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 4 equals 11. The fact that 191 people were killed, again a number 11, 191, 11. And that when you turn the numbers around, you can form 9/11 yet again. It is 9/11 anagrammed or mixed up. The initial body count after the attack was 199. A week later, the body count was revised to 191. How does one go from 199 to 191? Something in numerology that's unique is that if you remove the number 11 from the date, you will have a number 9. March, 3, year, 2004, 2 plus 4 equals 6. This gives us 3 plus 6, 9. The terrorist attack in Madrid took place on a Thursday, the 4th day of a 7-day week. 4 plus 7, 11. On that Sunday, for the first time in Spanish history, the Socialist Party will receive close to 11 million votes. The Socialist Party will obtain 164 parliamentary seats. 1 plus 6 plus 4, 11. But they will be 11 seats short of the majority of the parliament. There is much more information that you can read in my book about the numbers surrounding the attack in Madrid. However, I insisted she looked into the connections between 9/11/2001 and March 11, 2004, without forgetting that President George H. Bush gave his notorious New World Order speech on September 11, 1990, 11 years before the day of September 11, 2001. All the number of clues are coming in, but it's tough to break a code. In 2006, the FBI recognized that there's much symbolism involved when terrorists choose their targets and the dates of their attacks, Lumen said. Lumen handed a page to Comoten and said, "I have a copy of one of the letters I sent to the prosecutor." Comoten began to read. "Dear Madame, in your last email you asked me about number 4. You are still wondering about number 4, and you are probably right. But I beg you to look into Surah number 74 of the Quran. Surah 74 is considered the oldest of the revelations given to the Prophet. A prophet in Mecca received this revelation. There are some fascinating differences in some of the verses between the respective translations in English and Spanish. My theory is that the terrorist attacks, first in New York and later on in Madrid, are mainly based in this Surah 74. It's here that we can find all the information codified. I remember when the initiation of the investigation of Madrid with the first news related to the scene referred to some cassettes in Arabic, reproducing some chapters or verses of the Quran. If you could verify the surahs or the verses found in these cassettes, maybe we should be able to find the meaning of the same. I'm going to explain the main points as to why I believe Surah 74 is one of the keys to decipher the code used to commit the terrorist attacks. First, 74 equals 7 and 4, 11. One more time, we find the numbers 7 and 4. The month, July, 7, and the day, 4, is the United States Independence Day. Perhaps it's a coincidence, but to attack the United States it may prove as programmed coincidence, and possibly could escape a simplistic approach to future events. Second, the Surah 74 is composed of 56 verses. Now, once again, we run into the numbers 5 and 6. 5 and 6, 11. One more time, the number 56. Perhaps you remember that as in my book, I mentioned that the number of founding fathers to sign the Declaration of Independence of the United States was 56. As a result, we have the number combination of 11. 7 and 4 against 5 and 6, 11. Bin Laden was born in 1957. 1, 9, 5, 7 equals 22. All this seems like a puzzle where the pieces begin to fit together. We had separated the year when Bin Laden was born, 1957, 1957 equals 22, and 2 plus 2, 4. Here we have the first number 4, which we were attempting to discover. If we observe Bin Laden's date of birth, which is March 10th, we get 310 equals 4. The second number 4. Therefore, we understand number 4 twice, and each number 4 was obtained independently from the other. In traditional numerology, the two numbers must be together, indicating that Bin Laden's birth number is number 8. However, we're not sure that Bin Laden was born on March 10th, and we should always consider this fact. If we add Bin Laden's two numbers together, we could find some additional meaning to the first number 4 and the second figure 4. Let's acknowledge that each esoteric school has its own rules, and some separate the day, month, and year. This rule would help us find an additional number 4. However, I still believe that the number 4 continues to be part of the combination, 4 and 7. Remember that in numerological terms, Bin Laden was a number 7 in the year 2001, March 10th, 2001. equals 3, 1, 0, 2, 0, 0, 1 equals 7. However, I believe bin Laden was born on March 11th, 1957, and not on March 10th. March 11th, 2004 was bin Laden's 47th birthday, and the Madrid bombings were his birthday present. Third, in the Surah 74, there are amazing things that are related to the attacks. Or could they be coincidences? Read attachment verse 8 through 11 of Surah 74. When the trumpet horns. Then verse 9. That day will be a difficult day, followed by verse 10. It will not be easy for the infidels. That day will be a difficult day. Concluded with verse 11. Leave me alone to deal with the creature whom I've created, bare and alone. In verse 11, I find a significant difference within the content of the context, or with the official translation of Spanish and English translations, respectively. In Spanish, it reads, Déjenme solo con el que credo. In English, the same verse says, Leave me alone to deal with the creature whom I have created, bare and alone. The translation with an explanation is as follows. Leave me alone to deal with the creature that I have created from nothing. The difference between the two is among the leave me alone with the one, which I created by myself. What catches my attention the most is the double alone, pronounced as alon. This translation leads me to believe that it could be a type of al, such as Allah, the one, or Allah, the only one, or Allah, the supreme. These possible meanings indicate that some of the clues could be within another chapter. That is to say, some of the guidelines did not only come from Surah 74, but this could have also come from Surah 73, which we will later analyze. You may want to examine the following chapter yourself, and you also may want to read Surahs 75 and 76, which are in your notes. In verse 17, Surah 74 states, I will obligate him to go up the Sa'ud, the name of a mountain in hell, with pain. The twin towers were like two mountains. The pain of the rescue was evident, and the police, rather than the firefighters, could hike up the mountains or the stairs of the towers. We continue with verse 18. Because he has reflected on the Quran, but has decided to continue being unfaithful. Verse 36. God will burn him on the Sakar, the hottest burning fire in hell. There's no doubt that the attacks brought us, in one way or another, the fire of hell. Verse 29. Burn the skin and become darker? Verse 30 is part of a vital code. It has 19 custodians, or angels, that guard him. These 19 guards, or angels, are the 19 terrorists that perpetrated the attacks on the United States. Angels fly, and 19 angels, or terrorists, flew and participated in the terrorist attacks in the United States. It would be quite interesting to know how many terrorists or angels participated in the Madrid attacks. Next, verse 31 states, We have trust in the angels that they are the guardians of fire. We do not have a set number of them because we want to prove to the non-believers and to convince all those who have received the book to raise their level of faithfulness. Moreover, to those who have doubts, those who have received the book, whose believers, as well as those who have illness in their hearts, and all those non-believers may think, what may God have wanted to say with parabola? Perhaps he meant a parabola of destruction? It is in that way how God confuses and guides those whom he wants. Regarding the terms confuses and guides, he meant confusion of the light. God's army is made up of an unknown number of people which no one knows other than him. That is a warning for humans. This verse is made up of 11 lines. Why is it so long? The Quran is extraordinarily codified, and it's infrequent to find a long line among short ones. Is it a code? Here we would see the number 4, verse 31, 3 plus 1, 4. We must analyze this carefully because here is where the clue or code may lay. We see death in verse 48. The ancestors were useless. 9. Verse 49. Why did they separate from warning? 10. Verse 50. As if they were scared asses or donkeys. Here we see the word ass or donkey. You may or may not believe in these things, but the coincidence, or lack thereof, is that this ass or donkey is the symbol of the Democratic Party in the United States. New York City always votes for the Democratic Party during the elections, and therefore it's in the same city where the ass or donkey of the Democrats is a very emblematic symbol. Back in 1829, Andrew Jackson was the first president to use the symbol of a donkey or an ass as an emblematic symbol of the Democratic Party. By adding this year, we get to the number 11, as 1, 8, 9, and 2, 9 equal 11. By condensing all these numbers, we understand the cartoon of the donkey that Harper's Weekly magazine published. Moreover, from that moment on, the ass, donkey, practically became an official symbol of the American Democratic Party. How can the Quran, which was put together in the year 650, 6 plus 5 equals 11, suggest moments or actions like these? Now the most impressive part is arrived in verse 50, as it states, as if they were scared asses or monkeys. Next, the verse states, running away from the lion. Osama means young lion in Arabic. In this case, running away from the lion means an ass, or Americans are running away from the lion, which represents the Arabs. We then come across verse 54. This is a warning. Next, verse 55. Let whomever wants to remember it, remember it. As I indicated to you before, the Surah 74, according to the scholars and the historians of the Quran, was the first to be received by the Prophet, and it contains no waste. From this we can get some clues to the procedures followed in the attacks, particularly the New York City attack. But these procedures are also applicable in part to the Madrid attacks. As I previously discussed, I believe the utilization of the Surah 73 during the attacks was a parallel one, used as an inspiration. It's fascinating to read the Surah, especially after reading verse 9. He is the Eastern and the Western. There is no other God but Him. Take Him then as your protector, followed by verse 10. And support what they say, and separate from them in a convenient way. Next, verse 11. And leave me with the non-believers, owners of riches, and give them a short life term. Following is verse 12. We have heavy chains and strong fire for them. Concluded by verse 13. And suffocating nourishment with a painful punishment. I hope this information can be helpful to you. All this study is not published, and I am planning to use all this information in my new book. That will be the second part of my previous book, the one you already have. I continue adding new chapters to my new book, but of course not all of them are related to numerology. One more time, I wish you the best. I remain at your disposal, and thank you again for your trust. Warm regards, Lunam. That is a good letter, Lunam. I remember you spoke to us about these numbers a few months ago. However, I did not know that this study was prepared for the Spanish prosecutor of the Madrid train bombings, Camoten stated. The truth is that I did it to help in the Madrid investigation, but in the end the information I gave them was forgotten, and they followed a more classical approach, Lunam said. What do you mean by a more classical approach? Camoten asked. February 26, 2006 was my last correspondence with the Spanish prosecutor. She never contacted me again, and less than 2 months later, on April 11, 2006, 29 people, 29, 2 plus 9, 11, were indicted in a Spanish court in connection with the bombings. 5 were charged with planning and carrying it out, and a 6th named as a necessary collaborator. The trial began on February 15, 2007, and today, October 31, 2007, the verdicts reached became known to the public. 21 of the defendants were found guilty. 7 cleared previously on June 4, 2007, and another defendant received an annulment of all charges against him. 3 men were found guilty of the most severe charges, and 18 defendants were found guilty of lesser charges, Lunam said. "What do you think, Lunam?" Komotin asked. The trial did not reveal the truth about what happened in Madrid on March 11, 2004, since the 7 men considered the true ringleaders of the attack were not in the docks. They all blew themselves up at a safe house in Leganés, on the outskirts of Madrid, as police moved in to arrest them a few weeks after the massacre, exactly on April 9, 2004. "There are many questions without answers, Komotin," Lunam said. "Tell me, Lunam," Komotin questioned anxiously. "Highly restricted military-grade explosives were used. How did the terrorists get this material? No fires broke out at any of the 10 blast sites. How is this possible? There were several police informants among the perpetrators. How is this possible? No security camera images of the bombers in their backpacks loading at a railway station in Madrid. At least some nearby cameras should have captured some photos of them. I don't remember any witnesses testifying seeing any of the bombers in the Alcalá de Henares railway station. That's strange, as at least somebody should have been able to notice seeing Muslims in the Alcalá de Henares railway station with large backpacks. Synchronized detonations on the 4 trains. 10 of them exploded, but not the 11th one. Again, the number 11 appears. It's difficult to explain. Some investigators suggest that the bombs may have been under the floorboards of the 4 trains that were the first service out of the railway yards after overnight servicing and cleaning. Since there was the discovery of only 1 backpack, where is the evidence of the other backpacks? Lunam explained. Why do you think the Spanish prosecutors did not follow all these clues? Komotin asked. Let me be sincere with you, Komotin. You're going to be the first person I tell about that. During my emails and correspondence with the Spanish prosecutor, she often asked me different questions. But the situation changed dramatically after the July 7, 2005 London bombings, Lunam said. Tell me, Lunam, Komotin begged. On July 7, 2005, the Spanish prosecutor asked me about numerology and my opinion about the London bombings. What did you tell her? Komotin asked. I told her to look at the date, July 7, 2005. 777 equals 21. It was a 777, the month, the day, and the year. For me, it was clear that even admitting the bombers were Muslim, the terrorist attacks were not planned by them. Somebody else did so. And there are many unanswered questions about these bombings that don't make any sense, Lunam stated. Do you think that is the truth about these bombings? Komotin asked. I told the Spanish prosecutor that the numbers suggest that the London bombings were a carefully coordinated and controlled operation with 4 puppets or suicide bombers who happened to be Muslims, were following orders by a non-Muslim mastermind. Who was behind this operation? I sincerely don't know. I told her that everything related to the suicide attack seems to be wrong, and the final numbers of fatal victims, 56, 5 plus 6, 11, seems to be a coded one, in which the terrorists are included as the victims to make the numbers match with the number 11. How about 777? Komotin asked. The combination 777 is very significant in various religions and political contexts. In the Hebrew tradition, 3 and 7 are considered to be perfect numbers if you analyze 777 equals 21, and 3 times 7 equals 21. The number 777 is the antithesis of 666. There are new, not well-known yet political groups, such as Counter-Jihad 11. I have the number 11, or Order 777. Moreover, look at the following, Komotan. Roman numeral 777. DCCLXXVI. The letters of those numbers add up to 47. 4 plus 7, 11. 4 and 7 are the numbers of God. The July 7th, 2005 bombings were not Muslim-inspired. Someone else was the puppeteer who pulled strings, Lunim said. And after your email? Komotan inquired. Yes, Komotan, I truly believe after this communication with the prosecutor, the Spanish investigation changed and followed a conventional approach to the resolution of the case, Lunim said. Are you going to publish all this? Komotan asked. Yes, I will publish it in my next book, Lunim concluded.